I grew up in a country called Zimbabwe, just north of South Africa. Great place. I had normal eyesight, didn't know that I was going to go blind. At the age of 18, I joined the Air Force. I was going to be a fighter pilot like my dad, but I failed my medical, my eyesight. They said, "Sir, your eyesight is not good enough to fly. You'll never be a pilot." 3 years later, at the age of 21, out of the blue, I was told I was going to go totally blind because of a genetic hereditary eye disease hit me and my brother. It was a big downer. Someone came along and said, "Miles, I've heard the bad news. I think this thing about going blind, it's probably the worst thing that could happen to anybody in the whole world. And it's happened to you." So great, that was nice to be encouraged, We all need friends in a crisis, So anyway, so I thought, what the heck can I do? I want to be a pilot. So I went for some counseling, employment, career counseling. Said, what can I do? I'm going to be blind. The chap said, "Don't worry." In Zimbabwe, said, "Okay, there are lots of things blind people blind. Okay, what about weaving bamboo dog baskets?" I said, "I want to be a pilot. I want to make dog baskets." Said, "Okay, that one's out. What about piano tuning?" I wasn't very good at that. He said, "Okay, physiotherapy." I said, "Oh, yes, I'll be a physiotherapist." My wife said, "You're not touching any of those pretty young girls." Whack. So physiotherapy was out. Anyway, I accepted the fact that as a blind man, I was surrounded by limitations. Blind people, there were loads of things they couldn't do. So right up until the age of 50, I allowed my circumstances to determine my quality of life and my goals and aims, just like most of the world is doing today. By the way, I have the privilege of speaking at conferences all over the world, 63 countries in the last 2 years. Everywhere I go, everyone's waiting for the economy to change. I was doing the same thing with my blindness. I was thinking, if only God would heal me or medical technology, I could see again, then I could start dreaming and having big goals. So I was wasting my life, basically, waiting for things to change, waiting for circumstances to change. You, my friends, have got two aspects to your life. There's a life going on around you which you cannot control. Have you noticed that? You can't control what's happening out there. But the other part of your life is your response in your head, in your heart. And you have got total control over that. Is that right? Yeah. So your choice is whether you allow your circumstances to determine your quality of life, your success, your fulfillment, your stress levels, or how you respond to it. So I was allowing my circumstances, my blindness, to dictate my quality of life. At the age of 50, my brother Jeffrey, also totally blind, built a yacht in his back garden. He lives in Durban in South Africa. He launched it and decided, he told his friends, "I'm going to sail this yacht solo from South Africa to Australia, totally blind, totally alone, relying on speech output on my navigational instruments." One of his friends pulled him aside and said, "Jeffrey, that is absolutely impossible. You're not just a blind man, you're a stupid blind man." Because blind people can't do that. But he said, "Actually, if I can put you right, it's not impossible. It's just never been done before." And he did it. 53 days in the Southern Ocean. Okay, he nearly drowned. 5 days in a force 10 gale. 35-foot waves crashing over him, being blown towards Antarctica. But he made it. I went to meet him in Australia, got a great picture of the two of us, with our Australian beer, big tankers sort of toasting each other. But because we're two blind people, one beer glass here, the other one's way up in there like that. We look really stupid, It's quite hard to be cool when you're blind, So anyway, so my brother said to me, "Miles, the trouble with you and your life is not your blindness, it's your attitude to your blindness. If you're going to succeed in life, don't start with your blindness, start with what you want to do. Start with your goals and dreams, not your circumstances." I said, "Jeffrey, that is totally stupid because I always wanted to be a pilot and I'm blind." He says, "Shut up, stop talking about your blindness, go back to England and be a pilot." So I thought, okay, came back and thought, what's the problem? Can't see where I'm going, so I need speech. I actually tried, I wanted to be a commercial pilot, and I applied to them, and they said, "I'm stupid, you're blind." I said, "It's not stupid. All commercial pilots have to learn to fly blind as part of their training. I'm already blind. I'm partly qualified today." So, anyway, the long and the short, I'm now a fully qualified microlight pilot.
The first blind man to fly across 21 countries in an oversized hang glider.
I can smell what's growing in the fields below the crops.
He navigated with talking instruments and co-pilot Richard Meredith Hardy, who stood in at the last minute.
I got this call. Would you like to fly a microlight to Australia starting tomorrow with a blind man? And, well, what can you say, really?
He said yes!
They froze over the mountains of Lebanon, nearly crashed into cliffs in Malaysia.
Pouring with rain, the engine was bellowing, trying to cope with all the water going through it. Lightning flashes ahead of us.
He risked his life to raise money for blindness programs in third world countries. Miles has also finished the world's toughest foot race, 250 kilometres across the Sahara. He's done the world's coldest marathon in Siberia, sledged 400 kilometres across the Antarctic, and he's climbed Mount Kilimanjaro.
The only thing holding me back is 5 inches, and that's the distance between my ears. Attitude is what determines altitude.
He hopes Australia smells like a cold beer. Ella Callan, 7 News.
So here's a big thing. Listen, if you are going to succeed in your life, in your personal life and in your business life, you have to start with your goals and dreams, not your circumstances. I've done so much in the last 10 years. This is me abseiling, rappelling down Table Mountain in South Africa. It's about a 450-foot drop, and I am scared of height. I've got 2 basic phobias. I have a fear of height, and I'm also very claustrophobic. I've learned this, though, that you and I will never fulfill our potential if we allow our phobias and fears and insecurities to stop us reaching out. Draw an imaginary circle around where you're sitting. That circle represents everything you've done in your life up until today. Listen to me. Here's a question. When was the last time you did something for the first time? That was the last time you grew as a person. So you've got the circle you've just drawn around yourself. That represents everything you've done in your life. Now, if you're going to still fulfill other things in your life you haven't done yet, it means stepping outside the circle. When you step outside the circle, like me, abseiling, whatever, I used to think, grab that new experience, pull it inside my comfort zone, my circle, as soon as I can, so I feel secure again. You can't do that because your circle's full of what you've done before. The only way that that new experience, like abseiling, becomes part of my life, my circle has to grow to embrace that new experience. Every time you do something new in your life, your circle gets bigger and bigger to embrace that new experience. So the last time you did something for the first time was the last time that you grew. So this video clip, I'll talk you through some of the things I've done over the last few years. This starts with me flying the channel a few years ago, the first blind man to fly the English Channel. This is one of the world records, crossing the Qatar Desert. That cart I'm pulling weighs over 400 pounds. We did 120 miles across the desert without lying down or sleeping, towing a third of a ton of water. Very stupid thing to do. This is wing walking. I was afraid of height, and this is me getting rid of my fear of height on this aerobatic Boeing Stearman. Antarctica, you want to go somewhere where there's no McDonald's, no tourists, that's the place to go. Now's the tourist season. Now's the time to go. Hot air ballooning over the Nevada desert, had a bit of a crash, destroyed the basket. It was great fun.
Get over here fast.
On the Malaysian Grand Prix circuit, I hold a lap record, doing 120 mile an hour on the chicanes and things. And this is doing the solo kamikaze skeleton run, the only blind man to have done it, the most frightening thing I've ever done in my life. Just a great experience, and I'm hoping that I can encourage other blind people to come and do this as well. Apparently a lot of people do it with their eyes shut, so it's not such a big deal, yeah. So, thank you. So all I'm trying to say to you is, don't you be afraid of stepping outside your comfort zone, doing new things in your life. It's the only way that you can grow. So the big thing in your life, it's not your circumstances that determine your quality of life. Here's a quick check. Next time you're feeling happy, sad, whatever, stop and think, why am I feeling like this? And if your emotions, if your feelings are based on what's happening around you, you have got a victim mentality. You are allowing your quality of life to be determined up and down like a roller coaster by what's happening around you. If you want a quality of life, you want to fulfill your potential, you've got to realize, okay, obviously you are emotionally affected by what happens around you, but you can choose how to respond in your head and your heart. And I've realized that it's no good me sitting back and thinking, feel sorry for me because I'm blind. I've realized I've got to choose how to respond to my blindness. When I first went blind, I thought it was the worst thing that could happen to me in the whole world. Now, some 40 years later, I'm more happy, more fulfilled, more successful than when I could see. And nothing has changed except my attitude. I'm still as blind as a bat. Isn't that amazing? Here's the big application. The economy, everyone, all these global companies are waiting for the economy to change. It's not my fault, it's the economy. When the economy changes, we'll be successful. I would be still sitting at home as a couch potato if I had that attitude. You've got to start with your goals and dreams. And Paul today gave you a goal and a vision to double, your turnover and profits, whatever, in the next 10 years. As I said, you can do it easy. The big thing I've learned as I go around the world, everyone's got dreams, things they want to do. But very few people actually get to live their dreams because they're just waiting for, I don't know what for. I was in Luxembourg a few weeks ago. lady came up after and said, what do you want to do? She said, Miles, I'm going to go climb the Machu Picchu trail, do the Inca trail in South America. I said, okay, so what's stopping you? She said, nothing, I'm going to do it before long. I said, you girl, I've got 3 days. I want you to email me with a date that you're going, having paid a deposit. And she did it within 3 days. All really excited, now she's going. And my question is this, what do you want to do with your life? You want to learn to play the piano, climb a mountain, go to the gym, run a marathon? What the heck is stopping you? All achievers in life are dreamers, but not all dreamers are achievers. You've got to make that decision. That's what separates people who succeed and those who don't. Dream, decide, plan, and persevere. This is the route I took to Australia. When I was 18, 21, I was told I'd never fly, never be a pilot. 2 years ago, this is the wonderful route I took, the privilege I have flying more than halfway around the world. Never let anybody tell you whether you can live your dreams or not, because the only limits in your life are those that you accept yourself. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Remember that life does not consist in the number of breaths that we take, but in those moments that take our breath away. So get out there and get breathless. Thank you very much. Thank you.